Hey, Aubrey, how do you feel about advertisements?
Oh, advertisements are the
They're
worst.
the
We are
worst.
trying out YouTube TV, and some
Oh,
things I love about it, but there are ads for like movies and shows, and I'm not used to it. I'm used to streaming on like Netflix, and I don't get ads. I hate them.
yes. This has been and remains such a common IELTS topic. And the nature of advertising has changed so much that I
Mm.
think some students are confused about how to talk about it these days. You know what I mean? Because the format of the questions on IELTS, guys, can still be very old, even if they're new questions. They stick to the old ways. So today, guys, we are going to talk about some vocabulary, and we're going to provide sample part three answers about advertising.
Yeah, this is something that's really interesting to think about because, like you said, Jessica, it's changed a lot very recently, right? The ads we saw as kids or where we saw ads has changed a lot. So
Exactly.
the wording of these questions might throw you off, and you might not see a ton of ads these days. So this might
Right.
not be something you have to think about very often.
Exactly. And, some people might consider the word advertisement as just being like TV commercials because that's all it used to be. You know what I
Right.
mean? TV commercials and billboards and flyers in the mail, stuff like that. But these days, right, like really think out of the box because there are little and big advertisements absolutely everywhere.
Yeah, good point. So, we want to make sure to point you guys to our YouTube channel. Years ago, we used to make videos exclusively on YouTube.
Yeah.
And there's one from 8 years ago that got 20,000 views. It was called 7 Plus IELTS Part 3 Vocabulary Advertising.
Yes.
And these videos, you don't want to miss them. Even though they're older, they're still very applicable to the questions you're getting today.
Oh, yeah. There are so many vocabulary and speaking model answer videos on there that you don't get on the podcast. They're only on the YouTube channel. So, guys, make sure you subscribe to IELTS Energy TV. In addition to those extra videos, you also get to see us on camera doing every one of these podcast episodes.
Yes, exactly. So fun. So let's dive into our vocab here.
Yes.
First, we want to talk about jingles. Like this is the music you hear often with lyrics, right? Think
Sure.
about the music you just heard at the beginning of the IELTS Energy podcast, right? We've got this little
Yeah,
jingle, and then often
totally.
they have lyrics, and so we sometimes call them catchy, right?
If they stick in your head, I mean, there are advertising jingles from, like, the 1980s and 1990s that are still
Totally.
stuck in our heads because we saw these all the time, right? And this vocabulary, by the way, guys, is from that YouTube video. So we're gonna teach you 3 of the vocab phrases and then give you sample answers. But if you wanna see all the vocab phrases, make sure you go to IELTS Energy TV, 7 plus IELTS Part 3 Vocabulary for Advertising. All right. So a catchy jingle. Aubrey, can you think of an example of a catchy jingle that may be stuck in your head? I mean,
I often think of phone numbers. Like, there are so many ads I've
right.
heard where it's like a law firm or something, and it'll be like 867-923, and that will be stuck in my head
Totally.
all day.
That's so old. I don't think that happens anymore. Like people don't advertise with phone numbers. They just advertise with like websites. You know what I mean?
I'm curious, right? I feel like I have heard a couple on the radio still recently, which seems
Awesome.
nuts that you're still hearing them, but I think a lot of the ones stuck in my head are old. They're
Yeah.
from a long time ago, and they're that catchy that they still pop up in there sometimes.
Totally. There was this one, like, McDonald's jingle from, the '80s or '90s, I don't know, where they gave, like, all of the ingredients for the Big Mac or something. Do you remember that? And we
Yes,
all
totally.
had it memorized, and it was really long, but I can't remember it now. Anyway,
I
another
do remember
phrase.
it, but I don't want McDonald's to sue us if
I
I
know!
sing it, who knows? But I
I know.
totally remember it.
All right, guys, here's another phrase, drowning in ads. Like we could say, my news feed is drowning in ads lately. I mean, yeah, anytime you go on to, especially like Facebook, I think has changed in
Mhm.
recent years. Like there are a ton more advertisements in the feed than there used to be, right? So we could say, I don't really like to use a lot of social media sites anymore. I used to be on Facebook all the time, but these days I don't go on there. It's drowning in ads and it's not interesting to me.
Yeah, it's so tricky. It makes sense because if this is where our eyes are, this is
Yeah,
where marketers, advertising agents, companies
right.
want their ads to
Of
be,
course.
right? But then it makes us not want to look at Facebook anymore.
I know. All right. So, the third and final phrase before we get into the example answers, target market. Now, this is a phrase, guys, you could use not just for questions about advertising, but any questions about business, right? And this is very formal. So, it's great for writing task too. What is a target market?
Yeah, this is whoever the advertisement is aimed at. So if the target market is middle-aged women, then that's me. I'm the target market, right? It might be youth, it might be older, it might be
Yeah.
based on age or, there's all kinds of things that marketers are thinking about when they're trying to target specific people.
So, man, it's really funny though to me when like the target market is wrong. Like, I don't know what they did on
Uh,
their end, but sometimes I'll see advertisements where I'm like, this is definitely not for me, you guys. I do not watch the NFL on Sundays or whatever it is. Or sometimes I feel I am target marketed because I'm getting old. There's like old lady supplement ads, you know?
AARP mailers, like, really? I'm not that old yet. I know
All
sometimes I'll
right.
say that. I'm not the target market for this, right?
Exactly, exactly. Okay, so let's do a sample answer. I am going to ask you first. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, so again, guys, this is speaking part three, questions about advertising. All right, Aubrey, do you think advertising influences what people buy?
Absolutely. I think we're all susceptible to this. Myself, as a case in point, whenever I'm on Amazon, I have in mind what I want to purchase. And inevitably, I end up with three extra things in my cart because of ads I've either seen recently or ads that will pop up as I'm shopping. And I know I'm not alone. I think a lot of us are in the same boat.
Oh my gosh, that was perfect. That was seriously perfect. No
Oh, thank
notes. That
you.
was amazing.
No notes.
Guys, some of the vocabulary you could learn from that answer. Notice how high level and formal her vocabulary is, right? Because this is speaking part three. So she used the adjective susceptible. I am susceptible to this. It means I am open to this, right? I take this in, I pay attention to this. And the transition phrases as a case in point to use myself as a case in point. Remember, guys, not every part three question is appropriate for personal examples, but this one definitely is. And again, it's still formal. Myself as a case in point. Inevitably is a great adverb. It means like unavoidably, like this always happens. And then last one, um like I know I'm not alone in this, right? That's a great way to apply your personal answer to the wider world, which again is something that you're asked to do in speaking part three.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I wasn't asked if it affects what I buy,
Right.
what people buy, right? So yes, I can use myself as an example,
Yeah,
but I need to make sure to do that to answer the question. It's not just about me, does it affect what others buy as well? Interesting.
exactly. All right, now it's my turn.
Right.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All
Hit
right.
me.
What factors should be taken into account when making advertisements?
Well, I mean, I'm no marketing expert, but I do miss the catchy jingles from the 80s and 90s. And I'm such a 90s kid that I honestly am not aware of a lot of catchy jingles now, but I do think that should be part of ads because it as it's catchy, it sticks in your mind, right? And that should make the product therefore stick in your mind. And that's the goal of advertisements. I think other factors, of course, should be considered for the creators of this type of commercial content. I mean, I think they have a sort of ethical responsibility, honestly. And I really hate to see false claims and ads that target susceptible markets that might be a little more gullible, like the elderly or children, right? That might not have the full information and therefore might make the wrong choices based on the false advertising.
Amazing. Oh, I'm excited to dive into this vocab. What a great answer. You noticed she used catchy jingle, that phrase that we taught, to say that she feels ads should have catchy jingles if they want to stick in our minds. And that phrase, too, stick in your mind, just means to be memorable, right? But much, this is band 9 vocabulary because it's very idiomatic. And it
Mm,
also creates an interesting image. So easier to remember there. But I want to point out how you started that answer, Jess, to say, I'm no marketing expert, but this is a great way to begin any IELTS speaking answer if you're going to share an opinion, but you're not an expert, right? So
right.
use this chunk. I'm no fashion expert, but whatever it is you're talking about, plug it in there. Great way to start an answer.
And I want to note there that that is a bit on the informal side, which again, guys, it's fine for speaking even in part 3. We are going to mix some informal and idiomatic phrases among the formal language because that is the nature of spontaneous speaking. And that is higher scoring, saying, I'm no expert in advertising, but that is higher scoring because it's more natural than saying, well, I do not create advertisements. So,
Right? I do not work as a marketing agent, but yeah, exactly. It's just more natural. It's more how we actually speak.
yeah.
Exactly. And then you did get more formal with the vocabulary at the toward the end. You were saying other factors should be considered as well. And then you were talking about false claims in advertisements that are targeting those who might be more gullible. All of this vocab. So, first of all, to say other factors instead of other things or other stuff, more formal, right? And then false claims is anything an advertiser might say that isn't true, or maybe they're exaggerating in order to trick people or
Mhm.
convince them more. And then gullible is this amazing adjective that means likely to believe something, whether it's true or not. Great vocabulary, Jessica.
You know what? I hate to admit this, but I am gullible. I am a gullible person. Like I'm also a critical thinker, so I'm not gullible to everything, but my gullibility, oh, there's a good
Oh,
word.
that's a good one.
My gullibility comes in handy because it allows me to get into stories more, I feel like, than some other people that aren't gullible. Like
It's true, we're able to suspend reality and
totally.
really, get into the book or the movie we're watching, but then that also sets us up to
I
believe maybe
know.
advertisements that have false claims.
Oh, I've been fooled before. All right, guys. So it is the ability to speak naturally and to use sophisticated vocabulary like this that really gets you the true 7 and higher on IELTS, right? It's that overall English fluency. And it is said that a C1 level is something that you need to get a 7 or higher on IELTS. So I just want to remind you guys real fast before we summarize what you need to learn about speaking part 3 and advertisements today. I do want to remind you that we have a new amazing C1 course. It is available right now. And it has all 4 skills: reading, listening, speaking, writing. So check that out, guys. allearsenglish.com/C1. All right. What do you think is the most important thing to remember about today's part 3 advertising lesson?
Well, first of all, a variety of vocabulary in your answers, right? There will be some formal and informal vocab in your part 3 answers. You can use personal examples as long as you're
Yes.
actually answering the question. But
Love it.
also, a big takeaway here is you guys should subscribe to IELTS Energy on YouTube. There are great videos there specific with vocabulary for certain questions. And then, of course, all of the podcast episodes you can find there as well.
Yes, and we're so fun to watch as well as listen to.
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks for listening today. We'll see you over on IELTS Energy TV on YouTube, and we'll also talk to you on Friday.
Awesome. See you Friday.
Bye.
Bye.